Hey guys, thought I would do a quick little stint here talking about dry fire today. Nothing too extensive. I talk a lot about this in my classes, but I've always thought it was extremely important. Couple of main points though I wanted to just kind of put out there. I've always said I feel like what you do in dry fire is actually less important than how you do it. A lot of guys, they get very wrapped up on which drills to do, and I think most people don't really want to have to think for themselves. I think they just really want to be told, do this 10 times, do this for however many minutes, and I've never operated like that, so I think how you do it is much more important than what you do. First off, as far as what you do, as long as you're doing a variety of exercises, I feel you're good. Meaning you got to mix it up, close stuff, medium stuff, farther stuff, partial targets, headshots, strong support hand. If you're into competition more, then it's really a lot of the movement stuff too. But as long as you're mixing it up, that's the main thing. Number one. Number two is, as far as what you're doing, the 90% of what I do in dry fire involves multiple targets and multiple trigger presses. So many guys are still stuck in that realm of just almost doing everything, draw and getting that one click. When you're shooting, obviously I shoot Glocks, and so many guys, you get that one click, trigger's dead, doesn't do anything else. That doesn't mean that's all you can do, okay? The first one is the real click, but I can totally replicate as many shots as I need to. I just have to make sure my finger is going through the same range of motion, and also the same amount of force on every shot. So yes, you can use dry fire mags, different things like that. I recommend that some in the beginning to people. The positive is you get a trigger that moves. The negative is it's a different trigger. It's going to have a different weight, different breaking point. I don't really want to train hundreds and hundreds of reps on something that's not the real thing as when I shoot, if that hopefully makes sense there. But the number one thing, kind of the whole point I was really wanting to make with this, is that you have to be mentally connected when you're doing it. I watch a lot of people shoot, I watch them dry fire, and they just look like they're playing with a toy gun. They're just not really accounting for what that gun would really be doing. So often, they're not gripping the gun hard enough. They're just not doing it the same way. So what I tell people all the time is, if I'm in my house, in my garage dry firing, right, I know the gun's empty, I've checked it a number of times, but I'm trying to convince myself mentally, in a small way, that I'm really going to shoot bullet holes in the wall of my house. If just a small part of my mind can almost believe that, then I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to have the same focus. When I draw that gun, I'm going to bear down on that thing the same way, same grip pressures, seeing the sights the same, and again, working my finger the same. And that is, again, being mentally connected. 10 minutes of practice being mentally connected is better than an hour of going through the motions. At the end of the day, if you don't get the results, the improvements in live fire from dry fire, you're probably doing it wrong. So I found that it's harder to teach people that. What I can do as an instructor is I can explain that to people, kind of like I just did there. But everybody has to figure out their own way mentally to do that correctly. And I think if you do, it really carries over in dry fire, into live fire for sure. So I've always used a lot of third scale targets, tons of places out there sell them. I really honestly never bought any. You can just print them off the computer. Google 1/3 scale, IDPA, USPSA target. I've got these things hanging all over my house. These particular ones are pretty old. It's nice to have a wall full of, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 or 5 of them, different configurations. And most of what I do is just picking out random scenarios. Usually it involves me drawing the gun, 2 shots on 3 or 4 targets. A lot of times, doing a reload, and just more involved, again, beyond just the draw on one target thing. So that's a lot of it. I don't have a set amount of time that I do it for, or a set number of reps. To me, the better I do, the less I do. I figure up some random combination of targets, and 3, 4, 5 times, probably at least is how many times I would do it. If it's feeling really good, the gun's coming into my hand, and the trigger presses are right, the sights are right, everything's good, I'm probably good after 3 or 4 or 5 times, and I'll just pick something different. If it's not feeling good, I do it until it does feel good. Maybe 10 times, 15 times. There's been times I kind of got obsessed and went till my hands bled, really. But that's me personally. I don't do a set number of reps or really a set amount of time. Some days it's just picking the gun up and pointing it out, get some trigger presses and some transitions. A full session would be strapping on all my gear, doing reloads and everything. I like to use mags loaded up with like real dummy rounds to simulate the same weight. This one's got a snap cap on top. But that's how I've operated for years. I would say for every live round I've actually fired, I've probably mimicked that round times 10 in dry fire. I've shot about 20,000 a year for many, many years. Not as much these last couple of years, but I feel that's how I was able to win, a number of national and world championships without really shooting a lot like some people think. So anyways, and again, I'm just kind of cutting this short because I give a little longer talks on this in my classes, but I wanted to make this today and hopefully maybe it does some good for somebody. So good luck.